Hi, it's Ross here and welcome to my second video in this series on drinking water. Today we're going to be continuing where we left off in our last video. Now, in case you missed that last video, in it we talked about the 3 ways in which the water that you're drinking right now is poisoning your body. Number 1 we talked about was poor filtration, number 2 was acidic pH, and number 3 was a positive ORP. Now, if you remember from the last video, unfiltered water leaves behind so many harmful toxins, everything from chlorine to carcinogenic chemical particulates, pesticides, fluorides, all these impurities that you do not want to be putting inside your body. Acidic pH wreaks havoc on your body by creating this internal system, this internal state of acidity which your body has to fight every day. It's got this constant uphill battle. That's the hamster wheel thing we talked about. Now remember, your body is going to do anything and everything to maintain that slightly alkaline pH of 7.365. So when you're ingesting 3 to 4 litres of acidic water every day, you're polluting your internal system with all that acidic waste. It just depletes your body's alkaline buffering system so much. It leaves you vulnerable to health issues like weight issues, digestive issues, skin issues, candida, all of these things. And on top of that, it zaps your energy so much and puts you in that constant state of mild fatigue that so many of us want to get out of. Lastly, the positive ORP water, that deposits harmful free radicals throughout your body. It accelerates the aging process of your body and of your cells. It makes your skin and your hair and your face look older than it really is. It causes your body and your internal organs to age so quickly, putting you in early risk for so many degenerative conditions like cancer, heart disease, arthritis, psoriasis, so much more. Remember, you'd have to eat an entire bucket of antioxidant berries every single day for the rest of your life to compensate for that 3 to 4 litres of positive ORP water, the water that most of us are sucking down each and every day. In the last video, we focused on 100% of the problem, and today I'm going to share with you the solution. More specifically, we're going to go down into my kitchen and I'm going to show you the 7 ways that you can take charge of your health by purifying your drinking water yourself at home. We're going to walk through every single method step by step, each and every one of them. We're going to go through the pros and the cons of each one, and then at the end I'm going to show you exactly what I do with my drinking water for me and for my family so that you can copy my exact approach to making drinking water exactly as it should be. And by the way, you might want to take some notes on this one because we're going to be covering a lot of information. So without further delay, let's dive right in. Let's go down into my kitchen now and let's test each of these methods one by one. Okay, so here we are, we're down in my kitchen and we're going to be looking at all the different ways that you can use at home to take that tap and bottled water, that acidic, positive ORP, water that's filled with toxins, chemicals, bacteria, chlorines, all that stuff we talked about in the first video, and get it alkaline, get as much of an antioxidant benefit as possible and get it as clean as possible. Now, if we can do all of those things, you are going to see a huge uplift in your energy, because if you can imagine going from drinking maybe 2 to 4 litres of acidic, oxidizing water that's full of toxins, putting that into your body every day and swapping that to not only just getting all those things out, but moving it as far in the other direction as possible. So getting it as alkaline as possible, making it as much of an antioxidant as possible and having it as clean as possible, the difference is going to shock you. It is phenomenal. Believe me, I used to be just like you. Even when I was living alkaline and following the alkaline diet and thinking I was doing everything right, you know, I was eating all my greens, I was having my juices, having my oils, exercising, meditating, being stress-free, all of those things. I thought my energy, my skin, my digestion, all those things were as good as it could get. But to be honest, when I got switched on to how important the quality of my drinking water was, not just the quantity, it changed overnight. I got to a whole new level, and even coming from a place where I thought I was doing everything right. So maybe you're in the position where you're doing a lot of good stuff with your diet, or you've maybe got some improvement there. If you can imagine how much of a positive effect it had for me, imagine the effect it's going to have for you when you go to drinking enough quality water every single day. Now, if you're one of those people that is really doing so much right with your diet, so much right with your exercise, but you're not seeing the benefits you feel you should see, you're not getting there yet, this could be the reason why. The water you're drinking could be the reason why. I would bet that it probably is. So we're going to get into each of these 7 methods now, and the first one we're going to start with is one of my favourites, and I'll explain why in just a moment. The first one is the most simple. It's lemon or lime water. Really easy. You can use lemons or limes. Now, the first question, of course, everybody's going to be thinking right now, unless you've been following my site for some time, is lemons, citric acid, limes, citric acid. Why are we putting an acidic substance into our water? Now, let me explain. It's pretty easy. Basically, there are a few anomalies. Okay, there's certain foods that don't quite fit the mold. Now, to make this super simple, I'm going to give you a really easy, clear distinction right now that's going to probably answer this question for a lot of other foods as well. The thing we're looking for is not whether the food or the drink or the substance is alkaline or acidic in its natural state, like this. What we want to know is what effects it has on our body, what happens when we ingest it, what happens in the digestive process. In the case of lemons and limes, and it's the same for tomatoes as well, in case you've had that question in the past, is when we consume these foods, they have an alkalizing effect on the body. They're alkaline forming to the body once we digest them. With the case of these, and the same with tomatoes as well, the reason is simple with these is very, very low in sugar, very high in alkaline minerals. So one of the things that determines whether a food is alkaline or acidic, generally speaking, the most simple things are, does it contain sugar and yeast? Does it contain alkaline minerals? If it doesn't contain those and it does contain these, you're pretty well set. Okay, so to make lemon water, it's super easy. All you simply do is, if you want to be making half a pint, which is about, a pint which is about half a litre, 500 mils, I think that's 16 fluid ounces. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll put the real amount on the screen. You just want to be having about 1/3 of a lemon. And it's super easy. All you would do, take that 1/3 of a lemon, squeeze it into the glass. I don't mind the pips. You could catch the pips if you like. I've seen Jamie Oliver and all those guys give it a bit of this, but I don't want to get my hands all lemony in the video. Fill it up 3/4 of the way with room temperature water, top up the rest with boiling water. So just boil the kettle and top up the rest with boiling water. It's as easy as that. Now the reason that you want to, so there's 2 things. The reason you want to put the room temperature or cool water in first is you don't want to tip the boiling water on straight on top of the lemons. It just kind of makes sense that it would destroy the nutrients and everything else. The second thing is you only want to have enough hot water in there just to lift it from being cold or cool or room temperature to just slightly warm. And the reason for that is quite simple. Biologically and health-wise, it's because when you ingest very cold things or very hot things into the body has to use a lot of energy to regulate that temperature, cool them down or heat them up in your body to get them to a nice, steady sort of lukewarm temperature so that it can be processed. Simple as, you don't want to be giving your body more work than it needs to be doing. The second reason, which is the reason I sort of prefer it, is it just makes it really nice. Makes it really refreshing, makes it really warming, makes it really satisfying. Now, the reason I love lemon water is because it's so simple, it's so cheap, anyone can do it. You can do it today, you can get down the grocery store, buy some lemons and do this right now. To be honest, the main reason I like it is not because it makes the water alkaline, because if I'm being totally honest, it doesn't make the water that alkaline. Yes, it has a very, very mild alkaline effect on the body. It's not enough. I wouldn't call this alkaline water. If you want to be making alkaline water with a pH of 8.5, 9, preferably 9.5, this isn't the way to do it. In fact, if you stuck a pH meter in there now, it would probably show as quite acidic because of the reasons we explained earlier. It has a very, very alkaline forming effect on the body when you consume it, but is it really alkaline water? It is, but it isn't. You catch my drift. The reason why I love it is because it tastes great. You can have it first thing in the morning. It gets your metabolism going. It flushes toxins out of your liver and your kidneys. It gets your body moving, and it gets that hydration habit going first thing in the morning. It's fresh, it's lemony, it's warm. It's really, really nice when you wake up in the morning, you know, feeling like you need to have something nice, warm, you know, hydrating going into your body after, you know, 7 to 10 hours of fasting, let's be honest. Warm lemon water is just delicious. Now, that's probably the reason why I love it the most, because it just encourages people to get that hydration habit going first thing in the morning. Because like I say, after you've been asleep for that long, your body hasn't been asleep. It's been processing. Your cells need hydrating the second you wake up. Your metabolism needs to get going the second you wake up. And lemon water is just a great habit to get into first thing in the morning. So from a pros and cons point of view, pros, it's very mildly alkaline forming, which is always a plus. It's really cheap. Anyone can do it. You don't need any special equipment. You can start today and get it cracking, and it's really good for encouraging that hydration habit in the morning. The cons, well, that water wouldn't be filtered if it just came straight from the tap. Okay, that water would still have stuff in it that we don't want from video 1, the chlorine, the fluoride, the pesticides and all that stuff. It's still going to have the positive ORP. Remember, that means it's oxidizing to your body. It will age your body prematurely. It will age your organs. It will destroy cells. It will, you know, encourage free radicals, everything else. And it will still have the acidifying stuff from the water still in there, so it's still going to have a slightly acid forming effect on the body, unless you're filtering in some way to take all those toxins out, using an ionizer, using the jug, using all these things we're going to get onto in a minute. It would still be tap or bottled water that you're squeezing lemon into. So you need something else on top of just the lemons to get all those types of things out. But a great start, don't get me wrong. If you've got no other solution, if you're watching this and going, this is all brand new to me, this is a great way to start. And if you don't love the lemons but you fancy the lime, you can use limes instead. That's absolutely fine. So that's lemon water. Now let's move on to the second one, which is alkaline minerals in the water. Now there's sort of two options here. This is really just a case of adding these to your drinking water. So you've got a supplement type of solution, which, like, this is my favorite, to be honest. This is pH Miracles 4 salts. It contains 4 alkaline mineral salts in bicarbonate format. Alkaline minerals, like, let's address the salt issue. Do you remember 10 years ago when we thought all fats were bad? And then over time, we've realized that there's good fats and there's bad fats. It's the same with salt, and we're not quite there yet from a mainstream media point of view. At the moment, a lot of people think all salts are bad. But let me tell you, there's good salts and there's bad salts. There's alkaline mineral salts, and then there's table salt. You can see that there could be a slight difference in how the body uses those. So don't be fearful of bicarbonate salts. Don't be fearful of sodium bicarbonate. Don't be fearful of magnesium, potassium, calcium bicarbonate. These are all alkalizing and they're fantastic. So the way this works is really easy. You literally just take a scoop or a teaspoon, you put it in the water, you fill it up with water, you give it a stir, you wait for it all to dissolve a bit, and you drink it. As simple as that. Now, again, is this really alkaline water? Strictly speaking, it's probably more like taking an alkaline mineral supplement in water. That's more the effect you're getting. So these minerals, the sodium bicarbonate, the 4 salts that's got the sodium, magnesium, potassium, calcium in it, it's a supplement, and it's going to be amazing at buffering excess acidity in the body. So if you've got an acid problem at the moment, you know, or if you're consuming still some acid foods in your diet, or you're just feeling like you need that extra alkaline buffering, these are going to be a big help. But you couldn't really use this as your ongoing, all day, every day, 24/7 source of alkaline water, simply because, you know, to get to that 8.5, 9, preferably 9.5, don't forget 9.5 is going to be like 100 to 1,000 times better than 8.5. We'll explain why in a minute. You would have to put heaps in each glass of water. You'd have to be putting in like 4 or 5 teaspoons or 3 or 4 scoops of this into each glass of water. Now that, to me, is just too much of any one mineral. It will be like massively buffering the acids in your body. Like, you will have gone beyond like the point at which you need. And to be honest, it's just too much of any one mineral. But a great source of getting alkalinity into your water, into your body as you go on the go. Of course, there's the same problems as before. So the pros of doing this are it's reasonably cost effective. I mean, depending on which way you want to go, this is considerably better than just having sodium bicarbonate. This is going to be considerably cleaner than just having like a shop bought sodium bicarbonate. And this is going to have 4 alkaline mineral salts in it that each have a different benefit, whereas this, of course, will just be 1. On the cost front, this is more like $50 a month. This is going to be more like $10 a month max. So you just got to weigh up that. There is a cost, but it can be quite cost effective. It can be quite cheap. Now, in terms of other things that we spend money on in our lives, I think $50 a month is nothing, and that's a no-brainer for me. But it depends on where your budget's at and the importance that you place on this, you know, against oils or other sort of health cost decisions you're going to be making. From a cons point of view, same as the lemon water really. You know, the water would still have to be filtered Otherwise you're going to be getting those negative elements from the tap or the bottled water. You've still got the positive AWP. You've probably got more of an alkalizing effect though with this than with the lemon water. So that's the alkaline minerals. That's step number 2. So let's go on to the third one now. And the third one is using pH drops. Now they're really, really easy to use. Look at that brand new bottle just for you guys. Word of warning, they've all got their own concentration, strength and quantity to use. So this is Young Forever Purify from pH Miracle. So this is 5 drops per litre. This is Plasma pH from AlkaVision, and this is 10 drops per quart. I don't know what a quart is in millilitres, but different amounts. So this one, it literally is just a case of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Fill it up with water. And you're away, you just drink it. Done. Now, they do have varying degrees of a sort of, it's kind of a flavour profile. I'd more call it a mouthfeel. I used to work in the beverage industry, so the professional term for it is mouthfeel. Some people like it, some people don't notice it, some people really don't like it. So you might have to shop around to get one that that works for you. They are basically a highly concentrated mineral solution inside deionized water. So this one would be potassium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate and potassium hydroxide. They're all quite similar. This one is potassium carbonate, potassium hydroxide, sodium carbonate, and then the pure water. So these are really good, really convenient. You just drop them in and you go. Now again, if that's going into tap water, which thankfully that just didn't, that I drank, happy about that, you're still going to have all the toxins from the tap water. You're still not going to be getting the ORP benefit, but you are now, we're in the territory where you are getting some good pH benefits. So these would take your tap water up 1 level. So if your tap water is, 7, it's going to take it to an 8. Now the downside of this is thus: the pH scale is logarithmic, which means basically that pH 6 is 10 times more acidic than pH 7. pH 5 is 100 times more acidic than pH 7. pH 4 is 1,000 times more acidic than pH 7. pH 3, 10,000 times. Just to remind you, cola, fizzy beverages are usually around pH 3, not a good idea to drink. But basically what this means is that if your tap water is further down that acidic scale, so if your tap water, well, put it this way, if your tap water was 7, using this would get the pH of that water up to about pH 8-ish, 7.8, 8-ish, without too much difficulty. If your tap water is 6, it's probably only going to get it back up to sort of 7-ish, which is fine. We're aiming for over 7, really a minimum 7.365, which is where your body is regulating to. So that would be, it's not going to be contributing too much, but it's going to definitely be better than pH 6, that's for sure. But the further down it gets, the more difficult it gets, because you can't just add more of these drops. These are highly, highly concentrated solutions, and to be honest, it's going to be detrimental to your health if you add more than the recommended dosage. These guys, they know what they're talking about. Dr. Young knows what he's talking about. He knows how much of this you can have in your water. He knows the goods, he knows his onions, and I'm not going to argue with him. So that's the thing. If the pH of your tap water or your bottled water you're using it, because bottled water is even worse, remember, the pH of bottled water can get down as low as kind of 3.54. So you would theoretically need to add like 4, 5, 6 times the dosage to get it back up to somewhere around pH 7 to 8, which, to be honest, you just can't do. It's just not going to be good for your health to use that much of these solutions. So in summary then, the pros of pH drops, the reason I love them is because they're so convenient to have on the road when you're traveling, when you can't necessarily take an ionizer in your suitcase. You can't necessarily take a jug in your suitcase, although I have done it. But these you can have at work, you can have them in your gym bag, you can have them in your suitcase, you can take them away with you, and they will do a good job of helping just to raise the pH up a little bit. It's not going to get you up to that 9.5, but it's going to be better than not having them. And that, for me, if it can get you to a minimum of 7 and pushing on above that, is so much better than not. being honest, these are what I used for a long time. You know that situation I talked about earlier? This is what I was using with tap water for a long time. So I can vouch for them as being a great product, but they're not going to get you up to that pH 9.5. There's no filtration going on here, and there's no ORP benefits. So the water is still going to be oxidizing to your body. It's still going to be killing cells. But pH drops, they're a great interim solution. They're a great travel solution, and they're good for people that are on the go a lot. Okay, moving on to the next. The next methodology we want to look at is the alkaline stick. Now, the alkaline stick, this is basically a small stick that's filled with ceramic coated mineral balls. What those mineral balls do is, as the stick is in the water, it's very gently, very slightly mineralizes the water. So I'll get a bigger glass for this one. So all you really need to do is fill up your glass and wait. Now, you probably have to wait for at least 5 to 10 minutes to really be getting any sort of benefit. And the benefit of these is it will bump your pH up half a pH, maybe 1 pH. Again, it depends on the source water. If the water's really acidic, it's going to make a bit of a difference. It's going to help a little bit. If the pH of your water is more like 7, which it is in some places, if you've got like quite hard water, it means it's got quite a lot of calcium in it, the pH will be maybe up towards 7. So this would be really good. Then it'd probably get your pH up to sort of 7.8, maybe 8. Again, the beauty of these is you can almost, I'm not going to now because it's soaking wet, but you can always slip it in your pocket. You can definitely travel with it. You can definitely carry it with you to work, in your gym bag, everything else. The danger here is making sure that you get one of these from a reputable company that knows water, knows filtration, knows toxins, knows products, knows what they're doing. You see a lot of these on places like eBay and stuff like that, selling for like $20, $30, $40. You don't want to be mucking about when it comes to your water. You know, you do get what you pay for. Buying one of these from a company that's just an eBay seller that you've never heard of, that's got no track record, that's got no real care, to be honest. They're never going to hear from you again. You're never going to hear from them again. Do you want to be putting that water in your body? I don't. And you can get a highly reputable company. You can get one of these for between $70 to $80. It lasts a year. For that little extra, it's well worth the cost. So the pros of this, again, get that slight pH bump, the same as with the pH drops, probably slightly less powerful than the pH drops, to be honest. Again, convenient to take traveling with you. The cons, no filtration again. Unless it's from a reputable company, you don't know what's in here. Basically, let me see if I can just quickly show you roughly what we're playing with here, if I can do this without actually just stabbing myself in the hand. As they go everywhere. There, I'll try and zoom in on that, but basically that's what's inside these mineral balls. But yeah, so you're getting a slight pH bump. It's very convenient, it's quite cost effective, but no filtration again, no ORP benefit again. To be honest, this is a great one for travel, a great one as a backup. Would I use this every day? Probably not, just because it's not that convenient that, you know, if you want to go and grab a glass of water, you know, you're going to sit doing this for 10 minutes, waiting, waiting, waiting. You know, it's not the most convenient. It's a great backup. That's the alkaline stick. Similar in concept to the alkaline stick is the alkaline jug. Now, these vary. This one I've got here is quite a simple one. It's basically a jug that contains like an element here that's in reality just a charcoal filter that's got, you might be able to hear that on the mic, it's got basically these mineral balls inside here. So you just fill the jug up, it passes through the charcoal filter, passes over the mineral stones, and then just sits in here. Now, the jugs that I prefer, to be honest, are the ones that also have a deposit at the bottom. So they've just got a little chamber at the bottom that again is just filled with the mineral balls, so that the water is sitting on those all the time. The good part about these is that they're reasonably cost effective. So they're probably somewhere between $60 and up to $120, $150 to buy. They're pretty easy on the eye. The cost, you have to replace the the minerals and the filter reasonably frequently. It varies depending on the brand and depending on the jug, but you're probably looking at around $30–40 every 6 weeks to replace those bits on average. So they're reasonably cost effective. You are now, we're getting there, we're progressing, you are getting some level of filtration here. So this is probably going to take out some of your chlorine, some of your bacteria, some of the pesticides, but it's certainly not going to be taking out everything. It's certainly not going to be taking out all the chlorine and all the chloramines. It's just going to help reduce that a bit. It will make the water taste a little bit better, which will be great because, you know, to be honest, it's a funny thing when you taste filtered water and then you taste tap water, you realise how disgusting it is, and the smell as well. So to use one of these, it's as simple as, I mean, it's as simple as just your normal countertop jug filter that you'd get from Brita or someone like that. It's just that the filter's a bit different. Now, one of the cons of this, you can see right now. Okay, that's enough. So while the water is still filtering through there, you can see one of the challenges of this. It's a bit of a pain in the butt to use. It's not that convenient. It's great if you kind of are one of those people that are going to just fill the whole jug up and then, you know, every time you go to use it, you've got water there and then you fill it up at the end, so next time you come back and all that. The reality is, I've been doing this long enough, I've been coaching you guys for long enough, I've been in this whole journey for like 10 years now, and I know that I don't do that. Vast majority of you guys don't do that. You need more convenience. So this again is a great, for me, this is a great sort of in between you kind of step up method. You're getting a bit of filtration, you're getting a bit of pH, you're getting a similar kind of pH bump as this. In fact, probably a little bit less than this, because once the water is filtered through, it's just run through. It's the equivalent of if we'd have just stirred that around there for a few seconds and then drunk it. You're not really going to be getting anywhere near pH 8.5, especially nowhere near 9.5, to be honest. There's no ORP benefit with these jugs. Limited filtration, a bit, definitely better than none, and a little bit of a pH bump. So you're getting there. It's starting to get there. Like I said, the pros being it's reasonably cost effective, it's reasonably convenient, it's reasonably easy to get started. You can often get these on the high street nowadays, so of course I would recommend heading to energizeforlife.com and checking these out on there. They're a good in between. They're a good stopgap. The cons, again, the filtration's basic. Let's be honest, it's pretty basic. The pH is pretty basic, and there's no ORP benefit. But you know, they do a good job at what they do, and that's great. So we've covered lemon water, we've covered alkaline minerals, we've covered the alkaline stick, we've covered pH drops, we've covered the water jug. Number 6 is kind of the mystery filtration method, the ghost filtration method, if you will. But I wanted to cover it here, and it's a bit of a false one, because it's reverse osmosis and distilled water. Now I'm going to show you pictures of reverse osmosis filters and distillers, because I won't have them in my house. I won't have them within 100 meters of my house. The reason why is because, all right, let me give you the pros first. The reason that people buy them and that they exist and that there's even an industry selling them is because they filter the heck out of everything. They filter things to within an inch of their life. So if you want to get rid of that chlorine, the bacteria, the pesticides, the heavy metals, the trihalomethanes, all that kind of stuff, the hexavalent chromium, all those things we talked about in that first video. Are you loving my ability to say these ridiculous words? Reverse osmosis and distillers will get rid of those things. They will also get rid of every beneficial mineral in the water. They will also therefore create a negative, an acidic pH water. They will also create a highly positive ORP water. So your water will be clean, but it will be highly acidic and highly oxidizing. That's not the water you want to be drinking. Plus, on top of that, and these filtration methods change and adapt, and they get developed all the time, but generally speaking, reverse osmosis is a pretty wasteful process from an environmental point of view. You're typically looking at wasting about 10 parts water for every 1 part of water that actually comes through the tap and gets drunk. And you know, For me, that's not that great. With distillers, they're not that environmentally sound either, in my opinion. With a distiller, so basically reverse osmosis will sit under your sink. You'll have a separate tap or your normal tap, and the water will just go from your water pipe through the filters, through your tap, into your glass. With distillers, it's a little unit, probably sort of about a bit bigger than that. It sits on your bench, you plug it into the wall, you fill it up with water. They typically hold between 2 to 3.5 litres of water at any given time. You switch it on, and what it does is it just continually boils the water for 4 hours until it's all turned to steam, and then the condensation runs into the separate jug. So yeah, that filters the water as well, but it also creates that negative acidic pH and positive ORP. Getting tongue-tied. But anyway, so I don't like those methods because of that. You can still get awesome filtration without absolutely ravaging your water of the benefits. And that brings us on to method number 7, which I'm already getting pumped about. My body language is getting excited about, and that is using a water ionizer. So let's just recap. We're looking for water that has that pH of 8.5 to 9.5. We're looking for water that has that negative ORP, so it's an antioxidant in your body, and we're looking for water that is filtered of all those harmful toxins. The water ionizer, to be completely honest with you, is the only solution that ticks all 3 of those boxes, and that's kind of only just scratching the surface really of what it can do. So to give you a quick run through of how it works, basically, and I've got a little bit of a funky setup here so that you guys can see it on the bench and see how it works. Normally it would obviously be a bit closer to my kitchen sink, but the water flows in through the back of the machine. The first stage on this side is a filter, so it runs through a filter which filters out chlorine, it filters out bacteria, it filters out pesticides, it filters out a whole heap of that stuff that we don't want in our drinking water. Then it runs into the ionizer plates, where the water runs over those ionizer plates, and the ionizer separates the ions into OH negative and H positive, which basically splits the water in 2. So out of this spout you get your alkaline water, and then out of a different spout you get your acidic water. Now there are so many benefits of using the acidic water. I'm just as excited about the acidic water as I am about the alkaline water, but we'll get onto that in just a moment. So basically with an ionizer, you'll see here as I turn it on, you might get some funky sounds and some talking out of this in a minute, but basically there's settings from strong alkaline, alkaline 3, alkaline 2, alkaline 1, and you can see on the front, so alkaline 1 is pH 8, pH 9, pH 9.5, and then strong alkaline is basically can go from pH 10 up to pH 12 depending on your source water. On the other way, you've got just straight filtered. There's uses for that. Acidic 1, which is pH 5.5, acidic 2, 3.5, and acidic strong acidic, which is pH 2.5, and like I said, we'll get onto that in just a moment. Pressing the setting that you want and switching it on, and the water will come out of the spout, in essence. But in essence, that's as simple as it is. And by doing that, you've got pH 9.5, antioxidant rich, filtered water on tap to use whenever you want, all day, every day. I absolutely love that element of it. But let's just bring the camera around and get stuck into some of the other benefits of using the ionizer. So just to give you that run through, so this is basically the front of the ionizer, and it's as simple as having it on. It gives you the reading of the pH that you can choose here. There's different uses for all these different types of pH. The filtered, there it's just straight filtered, and the acidic water down the bottom there. Now there are a whole heap of uses for the acidic water. I cannot wait to show you those in the next video. They're just unbelievable. But just to tell you now that the pH 3 and below water is certified antibacterial, sterilizing. It kills E. coli, it kills staph, it kills germs, and all of this stuff on contact. I use this to clean my whole house. I don't have any chemical cleaners in my house anymore, and it's effectively free, it's natural, it's safe. I absolutely love it. The toilet, the floors, the kitchen surfaces, the benches, my cloths, everything, my gym shoes, everything, this stuff absolutely rocks. And that's just scratching the surface. We'll get onto more of what the strong acidic and the strong alkaline water can do for you in the next video. And by the way, if you find organic products way too expensive but you don't want the pesticides, you'll want to watch that video, you'll want to get into that. So The pros and cons of the ionizer. So the pros are, of course, you've got that pH 9.5 water on tap all day, every day, 24/7. You've got, it's antioxidant rich, it's filtered, it's also micro-clustered, which again, we'll get onto that in the next video. I'll let you know what that means, but just to give you a little sneak preview of what micro-clustered means, it basically means it's more hydrating than tap water, up to 20 times more hydrating than drinking tap water. You've also got the peace of mind, of course, that there is that filtration in there to get rid of all those nasties from the water. So that's what I love about it. The con side of it, of course, there is an upfront cost. There is, that you can't get away from it, there is an upfront cost element to it. But to be honest, given the benefit of it and given the alternatives, which are to buy pH drops, to buy one of these and keep replacing the filters, which isn't, remember, they're only really tapping on one of the benefits a little bit. There is still a cost associated with these. The cost here is, to be honest, within 6 months, 10 months, a year, it will have paid for itself. The amount of bottled water that people are drinking right now, if you're drinking bottled water as your primary source of water, this thing is cheaper on a monthly basis than drinking that bottled water, and after 1 year, it's paid for itself. So they're the 7 methods. That's what I love about all these things, that it's stuff that you can do at home, it's stuff that you can get started on straight away. There's things that you can do today, there's things that you'll be able to do within a few days from now, but ultimately you're going to start making an impact. You're going to start changing the water that you drink. You're going to start making it better for you, and to be honest, you're going to notice a difference within 24 hours. I absolutely assure you of that. Okay, now that we've gone through all of the 7 methods, if you're like most people, you're probably thinking, if you're serious about improving your drinking water in a way that you will actually follow through with and stick with, not just for the next couple of days, but every single day, day in, day out. And if you want to get rid of the impurities in your drinking water and make it alkaline and generate that antioxidant water with a negative ORP, then a water ionizer isn't just one solution. It's really the only solution. Now, the other methods we've discussed, of course, they've certainly got their place, and you know, they're so much better than doing nothing at all. Now, that's why I want to do something I think that you're really going to like. Today, we went through each of the 7 methods and focused on how to use each technique. So the question is, if you're going to do this, if you're going to experiment using one or more of the methods we've covered, how well does each method work? In other words, if we actually try out each method together, measure the pH before and after applying the technique, measure the effect on filtration by looking at the impurities such as chlorine, and take a look at the ORP before and after, how does each of these techniques stack up? So I thought it would be a fun thing to do a little experiment together. I thought that it would be really fun if we could take tap water, a couple of different brands of bottled water, and probably some of the brands that you're drinking right now, and measure what their actual pH is. Measure what their actual ORP reading comes out to be. And then we can apply each of these techniques that we've covered today, you know, measure their purity, measure their pH, measure their ORP after applying the technique, and do it all real time right in my kitchen. You can see which of these techniques are most effective and which are least effective. And from there, you can decide what your game plan is going to be regarding the water that you are drinking. Does that sound like a plan? Okay, oh, and by the way, I'm going to be doing a few tests in that video that I've never done before, because I'm actually quite curious myself, so this should be fun. Alright, so in the meantime, let's do this. I have got another gift that I want to give you because I think it's going to be really, really helpful. Before putting this video together, I also put together a cheat sheet. It summarizes each of these 7 purification methods that we've covered, along with the pros and cons of each. So it's kind of a helpful, quick reference guide. So if you're interested, I'd be happy to email you a free copy of that. All you need to do is this. If you could take a moment to spread the message of this video series by hitting the share button below, let's see how many people that we can educate on how shockingly bad tap and bottled water is. And then more importantly, leave a comment below with your biggest takeaway from today's video. Or if you've got any questions that you'd like me to answer, I'll be answering them right below this video, or I'll be covering them in the next video. I'd be happy to do that and email you a copy of the cheat sheet as a little way of saying thanks for taking the time to give me some feedback. Does that sound fair enough? Okay, and one last thing before I forget. Did you realize with an ionizer you can actually replace all of your household chemical cleaners with nothing but water? It's crazy, but it's true. There's a setting that you can use on the ionizer, and if there's time, I'm going to show you how this works after we do all the experiments in the next video. It will completely blow your mind. Until then, take care, and I'll see you on that next video.